Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a really sweet list that comes from Stryfo. They top 8'd a challenge with it quite recently, and this is kind of an evolution of some of the things they were thinking about with the Hogak deck that we played on the channel before, and it's kind of evolved into something very different now, but using some of the tech that they learned along the way, and I'm really excited to play this one. So, the main sort of innovation here is Kishla Skimmer. This is a 2-mana 2/2 flying. When a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, draw a card. This ability triggers only once a turn. Then we have Molt Tender, which can mill you, or it can exile a card from your graveyard to add a mana of any colour. So when you assemble these two, you add a mana and draw a card. That is obviously pretty darn good. We have a Keen-Eyed Curator, which also goes with the Kishla Skimmer, so we can remove cards from the graveyard. We have an Endurance. We can shuffle our graveyard to the bottom of our library, and then we end up with the card draw from the Skimmer. And this is all tucked into a really nice Zenith shell. So we have Green Sun Zenith, so we can sort of go up the curve with different things. Like we've obviously got the Molt Tender, we've got the Dryad Arbor on one. If we want to play Green Sun Zenith on turn 1, we can just go and get this mana dork. We've got an Ice-Fang. We go up into things like Leovold and Uro, which obviously Uro can really shut down some aggressive decks by just being a massive body that gains us a load of life. And Leovold can shut down card draw quite nicely. And we just got some good white spells. So we've got Teferi and Source to Plowshares. And then we've got a few natural orders tucked away in here, so we can turn our Molt Tenders or our Kishla Skimmers into an Atraxa and just do the Atraxa thing. Our mana base doesn't really have any space for tech lands here. It's all just mana producing lands. We do have a Surveil land, but that's about it. Sideboard wise, we got some more removal leading into the whites. There's Prismatic Ending. We have some Force of Negations, some Hydroblasts, a Terrastodon, which is a spicy one. It destroys 3 non-creature permanents and gives whoever's controlled that permanent a 3/3 elephant. So we can blow up 3 like spooky permanents. Or we can just make a load of elephants ourselves. We've got some more endurances. Collector Ouphe is a nice Green Sun Zenith target. A few Vetus Summers. Pernicious Deed to sweep some stuff away. A Grist that we can tutor for. And Ureni, the Song Unending. This is a big expensive thing that we're probably going to be natural ordering out. Protection from white and black. So basically protection from a lot of removal colours. When it enters, deal X damage as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. So this is kind of like a little wrath that we can tutor up with a natural order. It's also a 10/10 flyer. I'm sure it'll make sense when we're bringing this in. I think it's probably going to be for things like Death and Taxes style stuff. Things that are relying on white removal to clean up creatures and have a bunch of creatures of their own that we want to take out. So that is the list. I'm eager to see how this one plays out. Obviously, Stryfo is a very powerful magician. Managed to top 8 with it. Let's see if we can do them proud and get some wins on the board. Like, subscribe, sit back and enjoy. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors, 3for1 Trading, are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. Okay, we're on the play. We've got Molt Tenders for mana, but our mana is a little bit shaky here. If we draw a land, we can do a turn 2 Leovold. How many lands are we running? 21. I think we just need to have something a little bit more secure, so I'm going to mulligan this one. Okay, this seems a little bit more secure. I'll keep this. Also, Uro leaving the graveyard does trigger Kishla Skimmer as well. I think Natural Order is a good game plan to work towards. So is Uro. Kishla Skimmer, we don't really have anything to go with it. But this does make our curve really, really slow. But I think if we're showing some blue stuff, our opponent's going to be a little bit skeptical of what we can put down. They're not just going to run headlong into a Force of Will deck. Okay, this is exactly the sort of thing we wanted to draw. We're going to get a Molt Tender. That speeds us up into Natural Order if our opponent's playing a non-blue deck. If they are playing a blue deck, then maybe we have to pivot a little bit here. Let's try a Green Sun for 1. Molt Tender it is. I quite like this card. It's very innocuous, but actually does quite a lot. Brainstorm from our opponent. They're probably in the blue-black Reanimator ballpark. Every league you play against this deck at least once. Okay, they finish resolving their Brainstorm. And now they have to go to clean up because they seem to have missed a land. Interesting. Swords to Plowshares, pretty handy. Let's fire in with an Uro. Rarely feels like a bad thing to be doing. So we've got... What source do we want here? We're kind of Bant base, so maybe we just get a bit more Bant mana here. So we've got Tundra to round out the colours. We can play through a Daze with our little friend. Otherwise, this guy can attack. Do we think our opponent has Entomb Reanimate with Daze back up? Possibly. They're already binning a Daze. We could play around the Daze here. I think that's better than just getting 1 point of damage in. Now, we might end up regretting that 1 point later on. But this is a conscious effort to play around our opponent just playing a land and Entomb Reanimate. Because their hand's obviously stacked with a bunch of stuff. Alright, so here's a Dark Ritual. Oh, a Doomsday. Is that what we're doing? Okay. So that 1 damage actually doesn't matter here. Because they're at 20, they go to 10. If they go to 19... Sorry, if they're at 19, they go to 9. If they're at 18, they also go to 9. Because it's rounded up. Okay, so it's Doomsday, not Blue-Black Reanimator. Endurance does play here. We can put some cards on the bottom of their library and try and fizzle their Thassa's Oracle plan. We can also Green Sun Zenith for a Leovold next turn, which is going to be very good at shutting down our opponent's ability to draw extra cards. Our opponent has resolved that, and they're passing a turn. Their hand obviously has to be stacked, so getting through what our opponent's doing isn't always going to be the easiest thing here. I think if we play the Teferi, we just die. So I think we need to Green Sun Zenith here. There's Misty Rainforest. X is 3. Can I have a Green Sun Zenith? X is 3. I suspect our opponent has some interaction for this. We haven't made them do anything yet. They do have a Daze. Okay. Let's hope that our Endurance can do the work. We don't get to play the Endurance round of Daze. Our opponent can play this Surveil land and mill over one of the cards from their Doomsday pile. That might have been something they planned for, with the anticipation of doing like Lotus Petal, Brainstormy sort of lines. Alright, we seem to be going here. A Brainstorm. Passing of the turn. Very interesting. A Molt Tender. So we could just go for... So they've got 2 cards in their library, so Leovold doesn't actually matter anymore. We could go for a Natural Order for an Endurance to put these cards on the bottom of our opponent's library. Or we could Natural Order for Atraxa. Or we could play this Teferi and hope that our Endurance holds. Because if we play the Teferi and they have a Thoughtseize, we're kind of in trouble. Really interesting choices available to us here. I think it's the Teferi here. We can cash it in for another card as well. Right, so this is the Force of Will being spent on the Teferi. Okay, glad we didn't do the Natural Order line. So now we are trying to play around Daze and get our Endurance going. Cavern of Souls, sure. We have an uncounterable little friend here. So we can have this ability on the stack, and then we can plow this so that it doesn't work. And then we also have the Endurance on top of it. Because they only have 1 card in their... Yeah, they only have 1 card in their library. So if we plow this, they're going to cycle Edge of Autumn, and then we're going to try and Endurance them. We had a surprising amount of interaction with our opponent here. Now, it might not hold if they've got another Force. Yep, okay. They had a lot of things, and we couldn't quite go over the line. But that was a pretty interesting game. A lot of intricate stuff going on. So, Doomsday. Endurance has text. It's not amazing text, but it is text. I will take these Force of Negations as well. Do I want to blow up all my opponent's lands with a Terastodon? Not sure. So, the Collector Ouphe does have text as well sometimes. I'm not convinced our opponent doesn't have a pivot plan. It's certainly possible. I think we take these out. Do we need the graveyard plan? Do we need to hit their graveyard? Like, this is obviously like a draw engine for us and just a good beater with trample. But I think for a matchup like this, we don't really have that luxury. The Ice-Fangs aren't great, but they are blue cards. What is our blue count like? I suspect our blue count is very good in this deck. These cards are obviously very good. So we've got 20, 21, 22, 23. I could trim 1 blue card, maybe. Natural Order is another way of finding a Leovold, but I don't think that's a great use of our mana. We have 1 more cut here. Maybe it just is the Natural Order. 4 mana is just a lot of mana to get going here. We could leave in something as a hedge. For like if they've got creatures and we need to kill a creature, we could maybe keep a Grist in instead of his Natural Order so that we can then Green's there for Grist and use the minus to kill like a Sholdred or a Baragoyf. I quite like that. We're boarding in the Collector Ouphe because it stops some of their Lion's Eye Diamond lines, and we don't run any artifacts that care about it, so we're not treading on our own toes. Let's mulligan this. We need to actually be able to cast some spells. Oh, do I believe in the power of Brainstorm? I think we should just mulligan, to be honest. It's not great, but I think on this few cards we probably need to just do it. Okay, so we're going to go and get a tropical island here. No. We want a green source and we want a white source, which is Savannah. We want to hold up the possibility of casting a Leovold with our lands if we draw it. So this is green, blue, this can get us the black. A Tamiyo, yep. Do I want to get a Surveil land in right now at the cost of exiling a card from my graveyard? I think so. Although this is our black source. Oh, so is the Molt Tender, but they're unlikely to kill the Molt Tender. This can get us our Surveil land. Alright, we'll try this. So we can pay around days if we need to. We'd very much like the cantrip from this Ice-Fang. So when our opponent goes to attacks, we're going to play this Ice-Fang, because our opponent might panic about the Ice-Fang, thinking it has Death Touch when it doesn't yet. It just gives our opponent a window to burn resources on what is effectively just a cantrip. Brainstorm in response to flip the Tamiyo. Okay, well we don't have any pressure that works on Tamiyo because 1/1s are irrelevant against Tamiyo. I'm not sure why the 1-mana Planeswalker protects itself better than like 4-mana Planeswalkers do, but here we are. Again, Thoughtseize, a Dark Ritual. Okay, are we Doomsdaying as well? Jeez. Yeah, our opponent is running on some pretty powerful fuel over there with their hand. So we get to crack this for Hedge Maze, and then we can draw a card with our Molt Tender if we play this Kishla Skimmer out. But we're going to need some assistance. We can take a look to see if they've duped as well once they've put the cards up there. Okay, was there any pivot plan here? No. Just the Tamiyo being one of the very finest Magic the Gathering cards in the format. Let's get Hedge Maze in. We don't need another land. Force of Negation is very unlikely to do anything here. I think we're just going to play the Skimmer out. Do we need to play a land first? What land is useful? Probably Trop. We've already boarded out our Plows. So we can draw a card, but it's not going to get us enough. We're not going to have enough mana for this. I guess... Yeah, we already have green mana from this. So we'll make blue. Let's see if we can draw a card and do something exciting with it. An Ice-Fang. We could play the Ice-Fang to try and cantrip again. What would we be looking for? Uro? Uro is not very... Sorry, not Uro. Endurance. But that we can't cast. Okay. I think we are hoping that our Force of Negation on anything can do the work. There's no point attacking because we have a Tamiyo. We can at least pressure the Tamiyo next turn with the Kishla Skimmer. But we have to get to next turn, which might not be the easiest thing in the world right now. Alright. Our opponent is probably playing another turn here. Might not be true, but if you were going for something they could try and Tamiyo to get their thing back. I don't really want this Teferi in my life. Get out of here, Teferi. They have a Force of Will as well. Cool. Yeah, our opponent just has us coming and going here. Bouncing the 2/2. Yeah, just going through their pile slowly because they've just got the tools to do that. Kishla Skimmer ×2. Alright, here we are. Blue, green, blue, green. I think we go for blue here because if we get like a Brainstorm, we can then Brainstorm because we're going to be getting 2 cards. Force of Will doesn't help. Green Zenith doesn't help because they have the Teferi. I think we are just dead here. I believe our opponent has it at this point. Okay, because they have the Teferi protection, we can't deal with it. Alright, a bit of a tough one there. Doomsday's a cool deck though. We had some interesting games, we just couldn't really put the things together. Let's go to round 2. Okay, we got some Brainstorms to move some cards around. I'll keep this one. The mana doesn't look ideal, but I'm sure we can live with it. Alright, a basic swamp. Are we getting Thoughtseize? Seems that way. I suspect our opponent, if they are a blue deck, doesn't have Dazes in their hand. Otherwise, they'd be more inclined to get an Underground Sea here. Unless they are, like, really determined to play on basics and have another fetch land. So there's a lot of things we can probably infer from our opponent's hand, but we'll get some more information with what our opponent's next drop is. Right, they're taking our Plow. Okay, so our opponent's probably on something relatively aggressive. I don't really want to expose this blue source. Do I want our opponent to know exactly what we have in hand? Bayou we don't care about being wasted very much, so I'm just going to play this out for Molt Tender. It makes mana for our Ice-Fang. We couldn't play out the Misty Rainforest and then not have a blue thing for... So if we play out the Misty Rainforest here, we end up with no fetch land to get rid of our Brainstorm. But now Brainstorm becomes very bad. Our hand is pretty much unplayable right now. Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Not the one. We are in trouble. Now, this isn't a lot of pressure, but we are so far behind right now. Is our opponent mono-black or are they blue-black? I guess we'll find out when this Polluted Delta cracks. They're not coming in. Okay, they are blue-black. Entomb. Okay. Animate dead. Well, we're about to get hit by a Bowmaster to the tune of a lot. Can't really afford to lose our green mana. I guess this has to be a trop. Okay, so we're going to Brainstorm here. So we're doing it now because we have access to Endurance as well. No, so they're just going to get an Atraxa here. I think we can scoop this one up already. Oh dear, oh dear. That was not good. Alright, I would like some Endurances, please. That seems like a good place to be. And I don't hate the Veil of Summers here to protect us against Thought Seizes. And we can use it to get through a Bowmaster if we need to cantrip or whatever. Natural Order is going to be a little tricky to resolve against our opponent, so we'll probably trim on that a little bit. Teferi is good. These things are all good. Keen-Eyed Curator is good. Yeah, we just need to squeeze in another Endurance. What do we board out here? The fact that they had the Bowmaster, which is at most a 12 in their deck for our Molt Tender, was a bit sad. Going further down on Natural Order. I wouldn't mind something like Carpet of Flowers to bring in here, but we don't have access to that. One Natural Order, one Atraxa, or we could get rid of this altogether and board in what exactly? Grist and Pernicious Deed? That doesn't sound great. Alright, we'll try it like this. Maybe we could board down on Ice-Fangs, but it pitches to all of our pitch spells. Okay, this hand isn't going to lose to the Reanimator side of the deck. But we do need more land for this to do anything. Don't have any way of getting deeper into our deck. There's no Brainstorms. Our deck doesn't run Ponder. This is not really castable, so it's just going to be pitched to Endurance. This hand falls to a single Wasteland. I don't think we can keep that. This hand also falls to a single Wasteland, but at least we have some Mana Dorks. Ugh. Okay, we'll get rid of one of these plows. I'm not feeling confident here. Hedge Maze, find us a land, please. Don't wasteland me on the first turn cycle, please. Although if they have a wasteland, they should really snap it off. Because if you see somebody play a Hedge Maze like this, it kind of suggests they don't have a turn 1 play. So if you take it off them, they're not going to make a play the next turn either. So you've still got that breathing room. And you might also have them playing this because they need to hit another land. Okay, I guess we can cast our little Skimmer. We can cast our Molt Tender. I think we want to cast a Brainstorm before we have to worry about our opponent playing Bowmaster. These are not the hands that I wanted. Yikes. I guess Uro is the least relevant one right now. Okay, let's get a Molt Tender in. No Wasteland, but we're going to see a Bowmasters. They do have the Bowmasters. Yep, that's devastating. Maybe they're on a build that has a bunch more Bowmasters. Or maybe we're just a little bit unfortunate. Or maybe they're keeping hands based on Bowmasters because we have this 1/1. But you're kind of seeing the power of the blue-black Reanimator deck here because it literally does everything. I guess we play another Molt Tender. We kind of need the mana to get up the curve, really. I'll play a Molt Tender around a daze. They surely can't have another Bowmaster. We could play Teferi and bounce the Bowmaster to get a card. But that doesn't end up going amazingly for us. I'm not going to try and trade off with an Orc Army here. We need our Mana Dork. Yeah, Bowmaster is just absolutely backbreaking against us, really. They're going to take our Source of Plowshares. We can't answer this Bowmaster. And we're kind of stuck underneath it. Oh, it took the Ice-Fang. Ice-Fang is really bad for us right now. Okay, they're going to get rid of our thing that makes white mana. Jeez. Well, we know we're not doing anything with our next draw. I feel completely just demolished. Like, it is the best deck for a reason, right? Now, our hand wasn't superb by any stretch of the imagination to begin with, but we did have to mulligan into it, and it did have some relevant tools, but it's just all coming apart now. Okay, we're mainly looking... Oh, God. If I get a Savannah here, that gives us all of our colours. Do we want to just kill this Bowmaster while we have a chance? I think so. We could get rid of the Tamiyo, because that's obviously going to be a problem later on, but I think the Bowmaster just shuts down our decks so effectively. Like, we're all about playing 1/1s and drawing cards, you know. Ice-Fang Coatl, Molt Tender, the Kishla Skimmer synergies. Feels like Bowmaster is a real tough one for us to get through. Okay, so they're accruing more card advantage here. Cracking a clue, they're probably going to crack the other clue and flip the Tamiyo. But if we can get a Teferi, we can bounce their Planeswalker side before it pops. Which is very much what we're going to be trying to do here. But, you know, they got 6 cards in hand, so maybe we're not getting anywhere. Do I want to get pressure in? Do I want to try and get this Teferi in that's going to get eaten by Daze? Or do I want to just get a little deeper into our deck? So they're going to get back a Fatal Push or a Thoughtseize next turn. So I think we just have to go for the Teferi here. Because we're going to lose whatever plan we try and sculpt is not going to work. Because they're going to Thoughtseize us off the Tamiyo next turn. So we needed this to resolve. Yep, our opponent is just firing on all cylinders and we are in the dirt. So they might not minus a Tamiyo. We don't know what their hand is. Our opponent's deck is very efficient. Force of Will. Is Uro the way forward here? How are we going to beat this Tamiyo? We need to pressure it. If we play the Kishla Skimmer, this goes up to 8. Then we attack with the Kishla Skimmer, it goes down to 7. Then they pop it and draw their deck. So that's not good enough. So we need to try and find something that is good enough. Which is where the Uro comes in. Why wouldn't you have a Bowmaster's opponent? Why wouldn't you? Alright, we need to dig into something that answers this. Another little bird that doesn't answer it. Okay, I think we're just going to lose to the Tamiyo. Unless we can somehow get a Leovold in play before this pops. Then all they do is they minus this, fatal push it. A couple of turns later, they then draw their deck. Reanimate Bowmasters, sure. Snow-covered plains isn't good enough. They're going to draw their deck. We can just scoot this one up. Yep, get embodied by Blueback Reanimator. Very much a vibe in Modern Legacy. Alright, let's go to round number 3. The mana here just simply doesn't work. I don't think we can afford to keep this one. We don't really have a way of putting things in the graveyard. Nope. Okay, this one is a lot better. I think we end up getting rid of the swords because we don't have any white mana. I'm finding the mana a little bit tricky in this deck, if I'm being honest. Obviously, you know, I'm just picking it up for the first time. I don't have the reps with it to necessarily finagle my way through in the best manner. But it does feel like the mana is sometimes one of the issues that we're facing. I'll put back the plow. We don't have the mana for that yet. Molt Tender is not going to have anything to feed on with our current hand either. We do have consideration about what we're Green Sun Zenithing for. I think I am just going to go and Green Sun Zenith for a Dryad Arbor. Just start ramping a little bit. I'm a little bit reluctant to play this Ice-Fang whilst it's our only blue card because we kind of want to make sure that this Force of Will isn't dead. Wastes. Okay, we're probably on some Eldrazi over there. A Molt Tender. Not really great here. Let's have a look at our deck list. What here is good against Eldrazi? Atraxa is pretty good, if we can get to that. Not in love with Keen-Eyed Curator here. Kishla Skimmer doesn't really have the stuff to support it right now with our draw. Not the best. I'd rather just have a regular mana dork. We don't know if we're going to need this Force of Will or not. Maybe we're just trying, like, Ice-Fang here. It could draw us a blue card, but they might have a Cavern anyway. Didn't draw us a blue card, but we did find something for the Molt Tender. Got 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana next turn. So we can Green Sun for 4, but we don't really have anything for 4. So there's the Cavern. So we made the correct choice to play out the Ice-Fang. We could have obviously just sat on the Ice-Fang, but if we drew something good with the Ice-Fang, maybe it would change how we played out the rest of our turn. Alright, they're going to Kozilek's Command, get rid of our little guy, and draw a card. Sure. Why shouldn't they remove spells cantrip? This is a Surveil land. We could just assemble our engine, couldn't we? So we could play this out. No, we need to play this one out, don't we? Then we crack this. Go and get Tundra probably. Go and get our skimmer. Now we have the stuff to go with it. We can actually assemble a nice little draw engine. So we go and get the skimmer. Am I drawing a card now? What we want to draw, either... Is this during your turn? Yeah, so we have to do it now. So I guess we're probably doing blue in case we hit a Brainstorm. Let's just draw a card. We did not hit a Brainstorm. Okay, we will bash for 1. Ivugan. So we're relatively well on board here. Now, none of our opponents are particularly exciting. But we do have a draw engine. A Flesh Raker for just 1 mana. Yep, that's pretty good. That is the sort of thing that we could have picked up with a Force of Will. Because you can't play Flesh Raker uncountably when you have an Ivugan in play. Alright, we're getting a 2-2. Getting pinged a little bit. Alright, is that it? I can live with that. Hedge Maze. I could Hedge Maze to try and dig our way through, but we need the card in the graveyard ready, don't we? Let's get this for... I guess we're getting another snow covered, so we're getting towards our Death Touch. That might be relevant. Again, I guess I think we're getting blue mana here. Come on, Skimmer. That's not blue mana. Okay, we're going to attack with some little guys. Try and ambush them in combat with an Endurance. If we're all tapped out, they might send in the Flesh Raker, then we can try and capitalise on that. Thought-Knots. Yeah, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? Okay. We're going to play this out because it's the only card that we actually care about in our hand. We're not going to put anything on the bottom of libraries because it doesn't matter here. Yeah, get rid of our Force of Will that we weren't using anyway, and now we can try and put this Thought-Knots into their graveyard and give us... Oh dear. I was going to say and give us a little bit more card advantage, but this is just going to probably be us trading an Endurance for something. I was hoping we could use as a removal spell that gets to stick around, but now we're just getting bashed by this giant Thought-Knots here, aren't we? It doesn't have Trample. 9, 10, 11. The problem is this one does have Trample. I think we are blocking this Thought-Knots here and trying to draw a natural order. Can I have a natural order, please? Not a natural order. Swords to Plowshares is useful, though. I think we go and make white, exiling this. Drawing a card. It's another Skimmer. Okay, I think we have to plow this. I don't think we can plow the Thought-Knots here. Get rid of this. Okay, we're going to try and Surveil. We don't need you, Force of Will. Are we attacking here? Doesn't feel like attacking is good for us. Let's play another little bird and pass it over. Now we've got an Urborg allowing their Ivugan to tap for mana as well as being a cost reducer. So many manas over here. Reality Smasher. That is going to smash my realities pretty darn hard, isn't it? So we take 5 damage this turn. If they play anything, we die. Is that another Reality Smasher? Well, get in the bin, me, I suppose. This is a matchup where the natural order is a really big deal. So, what do we want here? Removal spells, please. Any sort of removal spell. I could play some Terastodons and try and blow some stuff up. This feels like... How much damage are we realistically getting off of this? 4 damage? That's still fine. Off a natural order. We just really want to be natural ordering our opponent. Leovold, not very good here. Teferi, not great here. I guess the one thing Teferi can do is blow up a Chalice of the Void, but we can kind of cover that with endings anyway. Keen-Eyed Curator is just a big guy, but he's not even that big really. We probably need Force of Wills just for their like prison pieces. Maybe trim on one of them though. We could play an Terastodon and like throw a load of our stuff away. We could also keep these Endurances, maybe over like an Ice-Fang. Ice-Fang does cantrip quite nicely. Endurance blocks a decent chunk of their guys though. Maybe we do want Endurances here. Maybe they're slightly better than Ice-Fangs. Because they at least trade with the Line Breaker. They can jump out and remove stuff as well. Like there's a bunch of 2/2s in our opponent's deck. This hand is pretty good if we don't get hit by Thought-Knots here. We can just work our way towards natural order. Alright, I'll keep this. I think we go for the Molt Tender here. We don't necessarily know what we want to fetch with this Misty Rainforest, so if we wait another turn, maybe we draw another land, gives us better information. So at the moment it's looking like Savannah maybe. Eldrazi Temple. Lotus Petal. Yep. Any more? A line breaker on turn 1, you say? Well, sure. Eat that, life total. Okay, so play this one out. We need to play the Skimmer, so we need probably a Tundra here. Gives us all 4 colours. Green, blue. Let's get this in. Then we can make white mana by exiling this. Drawing a card. Not a land, unfortunately. We will plow their creature. We can endurance just to put cards, just to get a card that we can exile with the Molt Tender. So what we might be doing next turn is endurance. So pitch cast endurance, target ourselves to try and draw a land. Stack the trigger so endurance ends up in the graveyard. Gives us something to get with Molt Tender, then we might be able to put natural order on the stack and get an Atraxa in. I don't think our opponent beats the Atraxa. Ideally, we can just draw a land. Don't thought not sue me, bro. Please. Come in there. That makes our life significantly more difficult. The Euro plan is going to be difficult when we need the Molt Tender as well. Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. Please kill my Skimmer instead. That is much better than taking away my natural order. Now, we might not be able to cast our thing next turn with the natural order, but we've still got a shot. Can I draw a land, please? We did not draw a land. Okay. So we go blue and green. Do you want white mana or blue mana? We've got... I think we're going to add blue mana. We're just trying to draw a card right now. We have to do it on our turn to get the card draw. Molt Tender. Oh, I was thinking about adding green, but we didn't. Okay. It was either green or blue. Blue for the Brainstorm, green for Molt Tender, or green for Zenith. So we have the same line we had before where we can try and endurance ourselves. Although we didn't have a card in our graveyard to get the card draw off of, do we? It's all getting a bit difficult. Dismember on the Skimmer. Sure. If you're not beating me down and messing with our hand, then I'll take that. Okay, so the beating down has begun. I just want to resolve this natural order. Oh, Dryad Arbor. Why would you do such a thing to me? Okay, I guess we play out the Dryad Arbor. So we need to survive the next turn of our opponents. Are we just playing an endurance? We could play it now just to get the card draw. I honestly think that's correct. Although let's exile the Skimmer first. Oh no, sorry, we didn't get the card draw, do we? What am I talking about? No, I guess we just try and ambush them in combat with the endurance. We need the Skimmer in play before we get the card draw. The Molt Tender just doesn't have card draw built in. Come on, brain. We can do this one. Flesh Raker. Yep, that's obviously bad news. Are you going to pump the Flesh Raker, or are you just going to pump yourself, Mr. Linebreaker? It's just pumping itself. Sure. Right, so we're going to play this endurance to block. We don't really care about anything in graveyards, do we? And then this is going to block. It's going to soak up 4 damage. It's going to put another card in our graveyard so we have the mana to cast Natural Order next turn. And this should be pretty game winning, I would imagine. Goodbye, Dryad Arbor. Let's get... I think it is still the Atraxa. There is a possibility our opponent kills. We only have 1 card in hand. Okay, Source to Plowshares. I'll take another Natural Order, I guess. I'll take Snow-Covered Plains. We don't have any... Oh no, we do have white mana, actually, didn't we? We take a Flooded Strand. And we'll take a Skimmer. I can play out my land. I'm going to get Savannah here. Get rid of this Flesh Raker before they can do anything broken with it. And I think we are in the wrap-up phase of this game. If we connect once with Atraxa, then I think the game is over. 1 card in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're finding an Iron and they can start tutoring for stuff. Is this just going to be a big K command? It's a Reality Smasher. I don't think that wants to attack, though. The words on this Atraxa card are pretty good news for us, in particular. Okay, I think we just attack with Atraxa. That's step 1. And then we can play out a little Skimmer here. So, blue, green. Then we can exile a card for blue mana here. Draw a card with a Skimmer. Play another Skimmer. Play a land. Play a Molt Tender. Good luck, opponent. You're going to need it to get through this. Okay. The plan is good. Natural order is the way. Do we need to have another Force of Will just because it's so more important to try to break the serve here? I think it is. Like, if our opponent plays something really good on turn 1 and we can counter it, then we can kind of feel like we're going to be even on tempo, which is really important because they beat us down before we get to make our natural order, then we're going to feel bad. Molt Tender. Force of Will we can't cast. No, we need to mulligan this. A removal spell. A card Advantage Engine to find our way towards where we need to be. Sure. I'll take it. This just Line Breaker on 1. It is Line Breaker on 1. This means that we don't get to play Molt Tender on 1. We have to plow this. We don't have to do it now. We can do it on our opponent's turn. It's unlikely that something scarier happens. But you never know. Yikes. So get Savannah here. I think we have to hit the Line Breaker. Our hand is relatively whatever when it comes to taking a Thought Knot here. I kind of just got bits and pieces. Like, they could try and break up our Kishla Skimmer combo. That's obviously a very slow, grindy engine. So not necessarily what we want in this aggressive matchup. But it's what we have. It's not like we have a natural order. That's the thing we don't want to lose. Okay, took the Skimmer. I assume they're not going to have any other plays, but if they had a Lotus Petal, they might be able to put something else on the stack. Nope. Okay. Snow-covered forest. I think we're getting Surveil land here and put the Molt Tender down, try and surveil our way towards the natural order. Because if we find the natural order next turn, we can cast it and then I think we're okay. It depends how bad this turn is for us though. Fleshraker, not the best for us. Oh, they didn't make 2 mana off this, they only made 1 mana off of this. So I don't have a follow-up play. We're still going to take 4 this turn, plus 1 from the fetch, that's 5. Alright. Hedge Maze, you got to do some work here. You are not a natural order. You are also not a natural order. Do we have another turn cycle? I think we do have another turn cycle. So I think we're going Skimmer here. This can also draw us a Source to Plowshares. So if we exile for blue here, we get to draw a card. An Uro. Am I Green Sun Zenithing for anything here? We can Green Sun Zenith for another Molt Tender. That can chump block for a turn. That's probably reasonable. Haven't really used the Miller card ability of the Molt Tender very much. I'm sure it will come up, but I think Legacy is just so fast that we can't be sat there just like trying to accrue advantage by milling. But we'll see. Alright, Molt Tender, you are going to gain me 4 life right now. Apologies if you can hear pigeon noises. There is one literally on top of the roof above me making some loud noises. Disruptor Flute. What are you going to name with this? Natural Order, probably. Maybe they'll forget that we have it. Nope, they name Natural Order. Okay. So it costs 3 more? That's so much. Alright. Now what are we doing? We can Uro. Gain a little bit of life. And then work on getting Uro into play. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need a 5th card for the Uro next turn. That 5th card can be something we mill off with the Molt Tender. Does that mean I'm just Green Sun Zenithing for another chump blocker here? Or I guess we can block with the Molt Tender. 1, 2, 3, 4. And mill at the same time. I don't think we need to burn this Zenith for anything. We could go and get another Molt Tender here and then chump block with a Molt Tender. So we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Next turn we could mill 1 with a Molt Tender and then play the Uro. Is that better than just chump blocking with this and saving the Green Sun Zenith? It gets us to draw 1 card. If that card is a Source of Plowshares, that's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to do that then. Well, let's exile this and see if we can find a Source to Plowshares. We didn't find the Source to Plowshares here. Okay, but now we have a Bayou. You can play this. We can Green Sun Zenith for 2. That gets us an Ice-Fang. That draws us a card. Okay. Get the Ice-Fang in. 1 card, 2 card, 3 card, 4 card, 5 card. 1 card, 2 card, 3 card, 4 card, 5 card. Yeah, so we do have the Euro next turn. I did make sure I did the correct maths. Unclaimed territory. I imagine most of the creatures are pretty castable on what they had already, so them playing a land is pretty good for us, because it's not just another monster in hand. But if it allows them to double monster, then... Ooh. Hardcast Noldrift, you say? Well, that sucks. Alright, we need to find a Swords to Plowshares, I believe. So they're going to come in with the Thought-Knot Seer. We're going to chum block it. We don't really have enough snow permanents to make this work that reliably. Okay, we are treading water continuously. It's about the best we can hope for. Uro is a pretty strong object in play. Force of Will, not really what I want. So this needs a Miller card, doesn't it? Okay, so then we get this guy back. So... Oh, wait, no. Oh, if I mess this up, we don't have blue, do we? Oh, no, that is a huge, huge punt. Oh. Okay, Brainstorm, you did not fix my hand. Oh, that was a disaster. A real disaster here. Yikes. Okay. Counter Souls. Yeah, got tripped up by the mana. Like, I could have paid more attention and not had that problem. Right, we're going to Annihilate one and lose this. Go to blocks, I guess. Then we're going to take out this Null Drifter because it's scary. They're going to Kozilek's Command and blow me out. No, we did not get blown out. What are they going to kill? The Endurance or the Skimmer? I'm okay with that. This is a bigger body. It can soak up trample damage better. Now we get the Euro into play on our next turn. What do they got? Is this just another one? Feels like a... Oh, the One Ring. Yep, that's one of the most powerful Magic the Gathering cards in the format. Not great for us. This is going to give them all the fuel they need for this Fleshraker, so we need to find an answer for the Fleshraker. Just don't play any more spells. Let me have a turn, please. Ugh, not a Lotus Spell. This could allow them to play 2 spells. Could you stop it, please, opponent? Okay, they stopped it, finally. Let's go to 3, and we go and get blue source. Tropical Island is fine. Okay, Ure. Let's escape you. Green. Green. Blue. Blue. It doesn't really matter what we get rid of here. This game is not going to be about looping our deck with Endurance. Please draw me like a plow or something. Pernicious Deed. You are very much one turn too late here, aren't you? So we can make the deed now. And then we've got a turn to pop it. I could pop it and blow up a bunch of our opponent's stuff, but I don't think the things that it would blow up matter. I think we need to use it to kill the Fleshraker. Okay, can our opponent string together enough spells to kill us here? It's been a pretty good game though. There's lots of back and forth. The turn where we messed up on the Euro is really bothering me though. We immediately lose Kozilek's Command here. All is dust. Yep, I'm going to just put myself in the bin now. Alright, that was a pretty good match, but we just couldn't get over the finish line there. Like, I think we correctly identified the natural order plan is just lights out for our opponent. We just couldn't string it together in this one. Again, we kind of had a little bit of trouble with like opening hands here. And having a little bit of trouble with the mana. Obviously, that is something you can get better with at time, but it feels like a potential weakness for this deck. Alright, on to round 4. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Okay, we've got a turn to Leovold or Teferi. That's pretty decent. I'll keep that. See if we can dodge the spooky Orcish Bowmaster. Although Orcish Bowmaster and Leovold is kind of a weird one, because they ping us or our creature. We draw a card, and then they get to ping again, so they can ping down our entire board. Alright, does not look like an Orcish Bowmaster matchup, unless we're looking at Black Stompy. Burning Wish. Okay, so it's some amount of Stormage. This looks like the Epic Gamble, because titular card, Gamble, Echo Vions. We're going to get a whole new hand. Let's see what this looks like. Ideally, we want them to cycle through and not have any spare mana floating. Okay, so we're just resetting with our opponent having a Chrome Mox in play. No counter magic here. Our hand is significantly worse, I would say. A Mox Opal. Sure, you got it. Storm is 5. They're halfway there. But we've got, like, Collector Ouphe in the sideboard. We've also got some Force of Negations. We've got tools to fight against something that looks like this. What is it? Beseech the Mirror underneath it. So that means they probably already got a payoff that's worth going for. Another Mox Opal. 3 cards left in hand. Lion's Eye Diamond. So they could quite easily Infernal Tutor for something, crack the Lion's Eye Diamond and go. Alright, we're just spinning the wheel again. Maybe we're going to get a better hand. This time they have a lot more mana floating. Right? So they're going to have 2 mana as well as this one up here. So we're just to Beseech the Mirror away from our opponent killing us. We still don't really have a great hand here. A Brainstorm. That's kind of good news for us. That means that they might not have the kill immediately because they don't need to build Storm. They've got plenty of Storm. So this means they need another piece or they're looking for a bit of disruption. Like they have the kill, they just want to make sure that they can punch through. So it's one of those two things. Hopefully it's they didn't have the way to win the game. Thoughtseize. Do I want to protect my hand? Or do I think our opponent can't go here? Alright, I think we're going to let them see, just in case they've somehow fizzled here. If they hadn't have cast this Brainstorm, I would probably scoop here. Just to protect the information. But the fact they cast a Brainstorm looking for something, it might have just been disruption they were looking for, or it could have been the fact that they were trying to go off, they couldn't go off, so now they're playing the Thoughtseize to see if they can get to their next turn and try again. They took Molt Tender. I don't think what they take matters if they're winning right now. But if we're getting another turn... Alright, we're gambling again. So this is going to be another wheel. Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, they're going to be floating a lot of mana here. And we're going to get a brand new hand. Ah, Force of Will. A little bit late, to be honest. But if our opponent casts like Beseech the Mirror, we can maybe try and snipe it out. Lotus Petal. Plenty of mana over there. Do they have Disruption? Do they have the kill? Lots of things. They're almost up to Grape Shot levels of Storm. Veil of Summer. Alright, we'll make them think about it. Because if they do some sort of, like, I think we've gone through 3 wheels? Yeah, so there's still 1 wheel left. So we may as well count this in case there's another wheel, because then we get a Force of Will back in our hand, potentially. 4 mana, this looks like Beseech the Mirror. I can bin off a Mox Opal here. Burning Wish, cracking the Lion's Eye Diamond in response. Okay, so this should just get them Tendrils, which will go pointed at our face. There it is, and here is the concede button from us. Okay, we got turn 1. It took a lot for our opponent to turn 1 us there, to be fair. So, Collector Ouphe looks great here. I like Force of Negations. Hydroblast can counter Gambles and Burning Wishes. So that's quite a lot of targets for a Hydroblast, so I don't mind that. We got a bunch of cards that are bad here, so let's get these Swords to Plowshares out. We do not require those. We're probably not doing grindy Uro stuff. Leovold is pretty good here. Some of this grindy stuff doesn't really work, but they do pitch to our other bits and pieces. I wouldn't mind getting a natural order in just to secure the amount of cards that we've got, so we can buy a few turns of counter magic and then natural order and gas back up with the Atraxa. That's probably what we're looking at doing here. So this is a 60 here. The other options we have that I'm interested in potentially is Pernicious Deed. If they're playing a bunch of stuff out on the board, we can sweep it all for effectively 0 mana. That's sometimes quite good. And then we have Prismatic Ending, which can just take out a thing that they put to the board. And then we also have Endurances, if they're doing Graveyard lines. This does not work against the Echoes, but it does work against Gaia's Will lines. And Veil of Summer to protect us from the Tendrils, as well as protecting us from hand disruption. I think I'd like to fit in these Veil of Summers. I don't think we necessarily get to fit in the other bits and pieces. Do I like Keen-Eyed Curator or Endurance more? Like, Keen-Eyed Curator is just a better threat, so it's probably better than Endurance. The instant speed interaction can sometimes come up. I'm not really convinced this is a Teferi matchup, actually. We can probably get rid of those. We should have plenty of blue cards. Our deck is pretty blue card dense. Just have a little check. So we've got 17, plus these, plus this. 22. I prefer 23, but I'll live with 22. Do I want to get rid of a natural order here? I don't think so. It's also just another route to Collector Ouphe. Right, we'll try this. There's a temptation to bring in everything that's relevant, but we need our deck to sort of function, because otherwise we just give our opponent lots of time. This is potentially a turn 2 Collector Ouphe, but we need to make sure we can mill over. If this is a fetch land, I would be inclined to keep this, but I don't think we keep it without fetch land, because this doesn't make mana until we put something in the bin. So I think we mulligan this. The Collector Ouphe on turn 2. Force of Negation we can't cast is really irritating. But I think Collector Ouphe is like one of the biggest payoffs in this matchup. Let's just get rid of a basic. We didn't really need those where we're going. Alright, Flooded Strand. Please don't go off on turn 1 and don't Thoughtseize me. Like, these decks, they tend to do a lot of stuff on turn 1, but they don't always try and win on turn 1, as we can see. Or are they going to do it in the second main phase? Come on, let me have a turn. Yeah. Okay, let's get our Hedge Maze. Try and surveil our way to a blue card to back this up. Hedge Maze. A Leovold. That is a good one. It's a blue card. It also can stop our opponent's main engine of Echo Vions. So we need something that taps for one of Leovold's colours, as well as being green. So that's probably going to be... Could just be the Bayou here. Alright, so we'll get this down. We have Force of Negation. We can only protect it in our opponent's turn, but they're probably going to have answers that come via a Burning Wish, which is only getting sorceries, which means the Force of Negation should be live a lot of the time. Alright, so we're getting a Surveil in response to our Collector Ouphe. So next turn we can deploy the Keen-Eyed Curator, but ideally I would like to draw another blue card so we can deploy the Leovold. That's kind of the dream here. I don't know if our opponent's playing like a strange build with Orcs Bowmasters to ping down, but we haven't seen that yet, so I'm not expecting that. I would like to draw a blue card, as I said. But even if we don't draw a blue card, we still get the Keen-Eyed Curator, so we're getting a decent amount of damage on board, and sometimes the exiling cards from graveyard is relevant. So this land can get us a Savannah or a Tundra. The second blue pip is pretty good, so we probably want the Tundra here. And that unlocks our white mana for later on, and then we can go blue, green, black, and cast the Leovold, or we can go green, green, cast the Keen-Eyed Curator. So we've got options. This was a Brainstorm without a fetch land as well, which is pretty important to note. We found a blue card. Okay, opponent. Here we go. Let's go and get... I think we said the Tundra, didn't we? Blue, black, green. I can't imagine this is the sort of card our opponent wants to be playing against. This is one of the strengths of like a Green Sun Zenith deck, where you get these really powerful haymakers that can completely warp a game without having to clog up your deck with loads of them. Now we've actually just naturally drawn both of them, rather than having to Zenith for them, which means we get to play them on curve instead of having to wait a turn. Okay, so from this point on, we probably just hold up Force of Negation, because we might need to cast this on our turn if our opponent's got like a bounce spell or something, and then want to try and bounce one of our guys. We can't pitch cast this unless it's on unless it's on our opponent's turn, so we need to make sure we keep things under wraps here. And we've got a decent clock. And then we just hold up the Force of Negation and make sure nothing weird happens. Like we could flash in an Ice-Fang, but we don't really need to do that. We just hold up the Force of Negation for whatever they're going to interact with us using. Okay, so we get to draw a card off the Leovold. Natural Order. Do I let this Force of Negation get taken? I guess so. So if they don't take the Natural Order, we might be able to Natural Order for an Atraxa next turn. So you can flash in the Ice-Fang and draw a card. What we can also do is if they target us with Tendrils, we get to draw a card for every copy of Tendrils that targets us, which means we might be able to Force of Will and Force of Negation multiple copies, so they need a lot more Storm than just our life total. So I could fire this in to draw a card. I think we will do that. There's an argument to hold this as a blue card, but we're probably casting an Atraxa in the very near future. Or putting an Atraxa into play, I should say. So let's just get cracking here. Let's get Savannah in. Let's Natural Order. Get rid of this Ice-Fang. Get the Atraxa. Refill. Okay, we didn't actually find the things we wanted. Okay, I take a Green Sun, an Ice-Fang, and Tropical Island, I guess. Not actually a very good Atraxa there. We were hoping to find one of our... I think we got 6 forces in total. I think we have 2 Force Negations. Obviously, there's a lot our opponent has to overcome here. If they start targeting us with anything, we get to draw some cards. Alright. Hate Permanent's good. Do I want to have access to some Prismatic Endings if our opponent plays stuff out? I still don't know if our opponent is on the Gaia's Will line. I think we should assume that they do have it because it's just such an easy route to win sometimes. So I think we are keeping in the endurances. And maybe, given the fact that we're on the draw, maybe I'd like another endurance just to make sure that that line is slightly worse for our opponent. Are we getting rid of a natural order in order to assist that plan with another copy? We don't want to take out any blue cards. So maybe we'll just take this endurance just to make sure we've got a little bit of extra protection against the Gaia's Will line. So Teferi is very good against Beseech the Mirror, which is something important to note. But our opponent doesn't really need to Beseech the Mirror very much. So this stops a Gaia's Will line and loses to any other turn 1 line. Gives us a Brainstorm looking for answers on turn 2. We have double Brainstorm, so if they go turn 1 Hand Disruption, and then turn 2 try and go off, which is a lot more common than going off on turn 1, then we at least have some purchase here. And the ways they tend to go off on turn 1 tend to be trying to go through the graveyard, and they obviously know that we need to interact with them, and we're not going to keep a hand that doesn't interact with them. So they're unlikely to just send it into our turn 1 hand anyway, when we've got kept 7. They could also just completely disrespect us and send it anyway. Scalding Tarn and pass. We're in the second main phase. Something happening? No. Okay. So we have a Misty Rainforest here. So we can use this to protect a piece in our hand, or we can just hold this. Because they can't take out both Brainstorms, if they try and hit us with a piece of Hand Disruption, they can take the Brainstorm, and then they play something they want to have, and then we can Brainstorm looking for the action. Commercial District. That's a Scalding Tarn. So the mana base for this deck, it looks a lot more like the Epic Storm now we've seen the Commercial District as well. The mana base for this deck is really cool because it's like Underground Seas and Tigers. Veil of Summer, you say. Okay, I think we need to respond to this. So we have some options here. We could Brainstorm looking for a counterspell here. Or we could hold up this mana and possibly we get wheeled into a Veil of Summer, which can just counterspell their whole turn. I think that ends up being better for us, weirdly, than Brainstorming here. We've got 6 hits off of 3 cards. Or if they wheel us, we have 2 hits off of 7 cards. So I guess the stats are better for us. But if we just counterspell this, how good is that for us? This could also be bait. I'm going to weirdly let this go. A Mox Opal. A Lion's Eye Diamond. So we have the Endurance. So they're just going to play just straight into what we're doing here, because they're not expecting any interaction. But we have 2 pieces of interaction that can work here. So they discarded a Beseech. And there is an Echo. We will allow this Echo to happen. And now we have the Veil of Summer. Excellent. So they can't kill us this turn. Well, they might have a way they can kill us through the Veil. There are some weird lines our opponent could take. But we're rewarded for our play here. And we don't even have to use it. Alright. Just got a little bonus action with our hand there. Okay, we have a lot of stuff going on here. I'll play out this Flooded Strand. And I guess we just pass. We can flash in an Ice-Fang, but we've got double Force plus Veil of Summer. That doesn't seem like a bad place to be. Ice-Fang, not exactly the best beater you've ever seen in your life. So we probably want a white source here for later on. We need a white source that also casts Ice-Fang. So that is either a Savannah or a Tundra. We have a lot of green stuff going on. I think I'm going to take the Savannah here, just so we have more access to green right now. Green and blue. Just get another card deep. Where is our Green Sun Zenith? This is a turn we can Green Sun Zenith for Collector Ouphe. We did not find a Green Sun Zenith for Collector Ouphe. We have a lot of interaction here. Do we just hold up all of this interaction? Or do we try and get a threat in right now? So if we wait a turn before playing a Kishla Skimmer, we can get in all of our interaction. So our 2 bits that cost mana and then the bits that don't cost mana. We can have those up and add to the board. And our job here is to not die. So let's just continue on that job, shall we? We do have a clock. It is a terrible clock, but it is a real clock. It is going to eventually win this game. All it's going to take is 16 measly turns. Obviously, we're going to add to that at some point. But we've got Hydroblast, which is a really good answer to Gamble and Burning Wish, which are 2 of our opponent's really important cards to fire off. We do have a Surveil land. I will take that Surveil land. I could get a Dryad Arbor and start beating down with it, but I don't think that's where I want to be. This is a blue card. I will leave this in our hand. So this will have to get us a blue source. This is going to have to get us a Tundra most likely. But we can attack for 1, then we can play the Skimmer. And then we have blue card, so Force of Will, blue card, sorry, Force Negation, blue card, Force of Negation, blue card, Hydroblast, Veil. That does sound quite difficult to beat, doesn't it? So now we're going to triple our clock. And here we go. Another land is probably not where our opponent wants to be. Their deck runs like 12 lands. They're not big into having lots of lands. Do you have a full grip? A Brainstorm. You got it. So the Veil of Summer is most of the time going to buy us an entire turn when we do fire it off. Let's do some maths here. So 3 damage. So this is going to take 5 turns. This is going to take 4 turns. So if we play this Coatl, we end up increasing our clock by 1. So we get a Tundra here. Do we get a Bayou in case we draw? If we get a Bayou, we can draw the Leovold here. I think that's worth doing. So this is green and blue. A natural order. It is tempting to fire this off. But our hand is so incredibly stacked, I think that would be a mistake. Because that would tap us out of 2 of our pieces of interaction. And what are we going to find? We've already got all the interaction we're looking for. We've already got a clock. We just need to make sure we can get over the finish line with the tools we have. Which shouldn't be that difficult because we have a lot of tools. I would have preferred this to be a blue card, but we still have Force of Will, blue card, Force of Negation, blue card. And Atraxa, that is a blue card. We're going to have to go to clean up here. I'm going to just discard this natural order. Our hand is so stacked that I think we can get away with this. Our opponent's gone to 5, which is importantly 1 more than our board can currently deal. Let's get rid of this. We have a lot of forces. They can't Thoughtseize us either. I feel in a good spot. They also can't like frontside the Echo and then try to backside the Echo because Force of Negation exiles it. Alright, Chrome Mox, 4 cards left in our opponent's hand. They feel like they have to go now. Okay, so they're not imprinting on the Chrome Mox. A Dark Ritual, you got it. A Veil of Summer. I'm going to Force of Negation this Veil of Summer. Another Veil of Summer. Okay, what are we doing about this one? I think this is a Force of Negation. No, it should be the Force of Will here. Because the Force of Negation can hit an Echo front-sided, so they can't backside it. They got 1 card in hand. We have a counterspell. It's going to be tough, opponent. A Burning Wish. I will Hydroblast this. Counter target spell if it's red. We had basically everything here. We didn't actually have our like prison-y guys, but we did have just all of the generically good blue and green interaction for like what our opponent's doing. Our opponent doesn't have any more spells, so we get to untap and hold up Force of Negation and Veil of Summer for our opponent's 1 spell they get next turn. Because we're going to put them to 1 with this attack. Our opponent has had enough, and we put a win on the board. That felt relatively commanding when we ended up in that sort of position. We did have that decision of, do we Brainstorm now? Do we hold up for what we draw afterwards? And that ended up being the correct choice. There's definitely a percentage of games where that wouldn't be the correct choice. But we managed to get there. Alright. 4 rounds down. We are, unfortunately, only 1 and 3. But we can try and put a few pity points back if we can win this last round. So let's go to it. Alright, we got a Molt Tender here. I'm not really a big lover of this Force of Will here, because we don't have anything to go with it. But we do have some stable mana, and that's something that's been a little bit sketchy to me on occasion. I think I am going to keep this. We probably lead out on the basic into Molt Tender. We can start actually tapping this and milling. That can sometimes get us some value. We do have an Uro in there somewhere. If we can Brainstorm, we can then start milling over cards with the Molt Tender. I think this hand is not great, but I think it's... We probably actually... I'm just thinking, if we want to Hedge Maze on 2, we need to think about playing the fetch land this turn. But this is obviously going to get us white mana, which we don't want to be wasted off of if we're in a creature matchup. Okay, I think it is just the basic into the Molt Tender here. So the reason we might want to get the Misty Rainforest in is so we have food for the Molt Tender whilst being able to Hedge Maze, and so we can have white mana. But we can just tap the Molt Tender for white mana next turn if we surveil something into the bin. Not sure that we want to surveil something into the bin. I don't know, there's a lot of wheels within wheels here. I guess we can just say no to the Hedge Maze and just play the Misty Rainforest next turn if we really need to plow. But this gives us better draws into like Green Sun Zenith into a 2-drop or Green Sun Zenith into a 1-drop if we want another Molt Tender around days. It gives us options to like play the Endurance. I think our sequencing is fine. Alright, a Mishra's Bauble. Are we going to be looking at 8 cast? Are we looking at some sort of Delver strategy? Uncertain. Alright, probably Delver strategy. Now we've seen the Volcanic and a Ponder. There is a possibility that this is some kind of Storm deck, but the very high chances are going to be that it's Delver. So this is a creature matchup where we're going to want to leverage this Swords to Plowshares, but our opponent did not lead on a creature, so that is excellent news for us. A Green Sun Zenith. So we can go and get ourselves a Keen-Eyed Curator. It does die to Lightning Bolt pretty easily, though. We could just Hedge Maze, but if we Hedge Maze right now, that means that we can't plow around a day. So I think we just play out the Misty and we hold back the Molt Tender. We can either mill a card or we can plow their guy. Is that true? Do we attack for 1 here? Because we're going to have food anyway. Is it more important to make sure the Molt Tender is fed for multiple turns? I think it is. I think we'd rather have the Molt Tender just milling a card, making sure we've got a little bit more juice to squeeze out of our graveyard. A Brainstorm here. That's fine. This means we're not getting hit by some kind of Corey Steelcutter line this turn, which is the most powerful thing I think our opponent's deck does. Murktide is pretty good too. And they're getting pretty close to Murktide. Alright, they're just cantripping away. This is absolutely what we want to see from our opponent's deck, which we suspect is an aggressive one due to the Mishra's Bauble and the Volcanic Islands we're seeing. If our opponent isn't Blue-Red Delver, I'd be surprised. 2 Volcanic Islands is also a bit of a giveaway. They're not playing like a 3rd colour here, unless it's like a really tiny splash. Another Bauble, you got it. So we could try and get a Leovold into play this turn. Again, that plays into a Daze here. So let's mill a card. It was a Swords to Plowshares. Unfortunately, that's the sort of thing we would love to draw. But it is mana. Okay, we did draw 1 anyway. So, we have some options. We can go and get a Keen-Eyed Curator here. We already have an answer for the Murktide region here. So we could go and get Keen-Eyed Curator around a Daze. We have the time and space to play around a Daze, so I'm inclined to do that. Keen-Eyed Curator does stack it to Lightning Bolt, though. If we get a Leovold, it's Dazeable, but they can bolt it, but we get a card. So if we're playing around Bolt, we should get Leovold. If we're playing around Daze, we should get Keen-Eyed Curator. We could go and get Uro. That does just run into Daze. Interesting choices here. We already have the double plow, so we've got the time to play around a Daze. So I think we are going to go and Keen-Eyed Curator here. Do I want to save stuff in my graveyard for potential Uro? Do I want to expose a white source to a wasteland? I really don't want to do that. So I think we're going to Green Sun using our Molt Tender here, just so we don't expose our reliable white source. Because Molt Tender isn't always a white source. So this can get us a Keen-Eyed Curator. We could also just get the Skimmer, but this is a matchup where Keen-Eyed Curator is pretty good, because we can keep them off Delirium, and we can keep them off of Murktide regions. Opponent has some interaction here. Alright, we're getting a Force of Will. I will take this 2 for 1. So they can play a Murktide. It's very likely that we can plow it, because we have 2 plows. Our opponent's already burned through a Force. They're going to be gaining a lot of life, but this matchup isn't necessarily about our opponent's life total. We're not trying to race our opponent here. We're just trying to control what they're doing and then go over the top of them with things like Uro and Leovold to an extent, and making our hand really thick with a bunch of Skimmer triggers, getting an Atraxa in. There's loads of ways that we go over the top of what our opponent's doing. We just need to make sure that we survive. I suspect our opponent is going for a Murktide now. Okay, no, we're just pondering. Where are our opponent's threats? By the time they draw a threat, we might even have a blue card for this Force of Will. Not really a matchup where I particularly like the Force of Will, though. I would much rather have 1-for-1 interaction. But it might be a 1-for-1 spell at some point, because our opponent is not doing a lot on the board. An Endurance. Okay, this is a great card we can use right now. And shut off their graveyard, so they can't put a Murktide into play. Buys us quite a bit of time. I will. Again, we want to protect our white source here, so we're going to go for the main phase Endurance. Right, let's just tuck your little graveyard away, so no Murktides. We now have a threat. We can get this Hedge Maze in. Maybe it's Molt Tender food. We already have a little bit of Molt Tender food. This is reasonable. I'll take that. We can go and get a basic, but we can't get a basic that allows us to Source of Plowshares. But we're quite close to having a Death Touch guy. But it's also just a blue card for our force, if that's what we need to do. Alright. I think we are just attacking with the Endurance. We can hold up Hardcast Force of Will here. We are on board. We're in front of what our opponent's doing. Right, Thundering Falls. This is definitely just straight blue-red Delver. If they were playing Temur or Grixis, there's no way they would have this. Well, maybe they have the Thundering Falls in Grixis, but not in Temur, I don't think. They usually play the one of Tropical Island in this sort of slot. Alright, so there's the wasteland we've been playing around with this fetch land for a while. A Corrie Steel Cutter. I could Force of Will this. I think we should. And I'm going to just give up this Ice-Fang. I don't want to play it into a daze that we've been playing around this whole game. The Ice-Fang is pretty medium anyway. This is the sort of thing that if you don't answer it on the stack, it ends up generating lots of value. I will mill a card with this Molt Tender just to get a bit more food for it. Just going to feed itself here. An Endurance. Okay. Would have liked to have drawn that, but I will... Okay. This is pretty excellent for us. Let's attack with the Endurance. Now all this feeding of our graveyard is going to be feeding the Uro. Endurance is just excellent in the blue-red Delver matchup. It can block their one-drop threats really nicely. It strips a graveyard out for Delirium and Murktide Regent purposes. It just does everything you want in this matchup. Okay, so now we get an Endurance swing in, put our opponent to 10. We can put an Uro into play. We've got 2 white mana up here. Maybe we'll draw a land and we can put that in as well. I will put that in. I'm not going to save it for a Brainstorm. We have stuff we want to do with our mana. Being able to get more cards in our graveyard for Uro is obviously a great place to be. We don't want to be wasted off of Uro either. A Corrie Steel Cutter, you got it. I think it's too late for this to take over the game. Now, that's not always the case. But Uro is a pretty powerful game object that I'm excited about. So we're getting our Molt Tender hit here. I'm going to mill a card just to make sure our Uro is getting padded out. Alright, you can attack me for 2. We're on 22 already. So our opponent's aggro is leaving a lot to be desired, I would say. I think we crack this. We're going to go and get... is it Tundra here? It's probably going to get wasted whatever we get. We could just get a snow-covered forest. Or we could get a Tundra with the intention of then getting another one later on. I think I'm just going to get the snow-covered forest, actually. Let's get the Uro in. Now, our opponent can go wide with this, but they've only got 2 cards in hand. Alright, so they're wastelanding our Misty Rainforest. Is our opponent going to daze this? Feels like they might. Sure. Not ideal. So I guess we just get the Tundra here, because this gives us the most amount of options. Because we can Brainstorm or Plow. Are we going to continue sending the damage? I think so. We are winning this race. Our opponent needs to cast spells for this to be chunking in. Thundering Falls. Yep. The one way this can go a little bit pear-shaped is if we lose the Tundra to a wasteland. This is going to be a Murktide. That's a-okay with me. So the race is not really on as much because they're about to gain 5 life. But we can untap, plow this. They can't daze it because we'll have all our mana untapped. They can't force it because they've got 1 card in hand. Just playing it nice and slow, leveraging the fact that our deck is designed to go long and our opponent's doesn't have as much longevity as ours. Okay, we could just Atraxa. Our opponent can't really interact with this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got mana to pay around days. Spell Pierce gets us here. I don't think our opponent's running Spell Pierce though. Alright, Atraxa. Boom. So what do we got here? A lot of stuff. I'll take Force of Will. I'll take a Skimmer. I'll take a Natural Order. I'll take a White Source in Savannah. Can play out our land here. Our opponent's only got 1 card in hand. Do we just plow this Murktide? Do we need to plow this Murktide? I think we just hold up with a bunch of resources, see what our opponent wants to do here. I would say that we are like 90-odd% to win this game. Yep, you go ahead and Brainstorm. It's very rare that Atraxa isn't the best creature in play. We don't need to plow these things. I'm just coming in. Interesting. 2 cards in hand. They know we have a Lightning Bolt. I think I'll just block the little one. No, is that true? No, we just block the Murktide here. Even if they do Lightning Bolt, that's a fine trade for us. We can Force of Will to protect it because we have all these other resources. I like it when my opponent attacks and my life goes back up to 20. So they need to have 2 lightning bolts to get through here. I think this is worth fighting over. And I think I'm going to bin off the Brainstorm. We've got Uro on the way as well. We're just grinding over what our opponent's doing here. They got another lightning bolt. An Unholy Heat. Sure, you got it. But they are now Hellbent and we're about to put an Uro into play. Corey Steelcutter, not great from Hellbent to be honest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you do have enough to bring back the Uro without having to plow one of these. Alright, let's just get the Uro back. Green, green, blue, blue. We could play the Skimmer out first, but I'd rather just hold up my plows here. Did not draw a land. I could get a Molt Tender in, just for next turn. I don't hate that. We still have a plow if we need it for anything. This just means that we have a draw engine with our Kishla Skimmer next turn. They can force through a tiny bit of damage. No, I didn't think you would. Okay, so let's get the Skimmer in with the Uro. We can Green Sun Zenith here if we wish. I do wish. I'm going to get the Keen-Eyed Curator here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have double source Plowshares, so we don't need to really like curtail the Murktide region just yet. But we can slowly drain away their graveyard now. Let's get rid of this Brainstorm. Let's mill a card. That's a Teferi, sure. Planeswalker, instant creature. We can't get Delirium with this guy, so we're not going to attack and lose it. We're just going to enjoy the fact that we have a massive Uro. Sure, you can chump block. I guess now we can go and get the Leovold. Just really shut down everything our opponent's doing. You had enough yet, opponent? A Corey Steelcutter. Sure, we'll say no to that one. That's the sort of thing that can maybe get them a wide enough board to do something here. A Mishra's Bauble. If you target me with that, I'll get to draw cards. They probably have to target themselves with this Bauble. Oh no, we get a free card. Thank you. Yes, I'll take a free card. Awfully kind of you, opponent. Like, they're just in the doldrums right now. We are slightly lower on clock than they are, so it makes sense for them to keep trying to play it out. We could have exiled some stuff with the Keen-Eyed Curator end step, but we are far enough ahead here that we can just continue on like this. So no. I'm just trying to take actions quickly. Sure, you got the Uro. I will take out this Teferi now, because it gives us another card draw. I'll play out this Molt Tender. We'll pass it over. We have enough stuff to make the Keen-Eyed Curator delirious now. Mishra's Bauble. What's the last card in your hand, opponent? They're targeting us with the Bauble, so we draw another card. I think they're just trying to see more cards in our deck to get more information. Just take out this artifact. Take out this land. Right, that'll do. It's just enough to get the game won this turn in a multitude of ways. Yeah, they're just letting our clock burn down, which is fair enough. We just hit them for pretty much 20 in that last turn. Okay, so I would like some more endurances, please. Let's get those in there. This might be pretty good. It's so big that our opponent can only interact with it using Brazen Borrower, and it'll sweep out a bunch of guys. Is that better than Atraxa? No. Okay. We solved that problem. The Hydroblasts are excellent here. I do not want Force of Will in this matchup. We're going to board down on Natural Order. Just trying to play a fair deck here. I like the Teferi a lot. Plow's obviously very important. Our central engine is kind of key to how we operate. Uro is one of our late game engines. I think it's the Natural Order that goes here. You keep 1 and 1. Do we want a Pernicious Deed here? It's a very good way of cleaning up all these Corey Steelcutter tokens. If we do want this, it probably means we're boarding these out and boarding in the Grist. And we just don't have our top end anymore. But our top end is now Uro, which is fine. Trying to resolve a 4-drop against the Day's Wasteland deck isn't always a great plan anyway. But now we've got Pernicious Deed, which can sweep out all of their little tokens. We have the Grist, which can take out a Murktide, whilst also providing us value of just getting 1/1s and digging us towards the Uro, which is going to be a sort of our best finisher, I would say, is the Uro. We do have Green Sun Zenith, which can go find Uro as well. I think this matchup should be good for us. We outgrind our opponent a lot. We've got a good suite of interaction. Double Plow in the aggro matchup. Yes, please. Are they going to start with a threat? No. Beautiful. Thank you for that, opponent. I appreciate your work. I guess we have this so we can go and get a Hedge Maze. We could go and get just a basic island. Depends how much we want to be wastable off our colours. Because we would still need a basic forest at some point. A Quarry Steel Cutter. Sure. This is... Oh, it's not coming with a friend. I don't think we're fetching now. Okay, a Tundra. What are we doing with our resources this turn? We don't need to plough something this turn. We could just brainstorm and move some stuff around. But realistically, we don't really need to move very much around. So if we play this out... If we want to play the Skimmer, we need a blue source. This gets basic island. No, this gets basic forest. This is our blue source. No, that doesn't work either. This probably has to be trop. Alright. Let's go and get the trop. Then we play out the Tundra here. And then we're going to Skimmer. If our opponent has a daze for this, that's fewer cards in their hand to fight with stuff on their turn, which is where they want to fight, generally speaking. Anytime we can stop our opponent from double spelling is okay. If they set themselves back, it might be a bit more difficult for them to double spell and get the Quarry Steel Cutter going. It's just a 2-2, so it's not that exciting. It might just provide them with a lightning bolt target, but I think we can live with that. Preordain, sure. The ugly step cousin of Ponder and Brainstorm. 2 top, 0 bottom. Not a lover of that one. Okay, lightning bolt, targeting the Skimmer. You got it. So they're going to equip their monk here and crack in. We're going to try and be a little bit careful with our clock here and try and F6 where we can. Another source to Plowshares. Okay, so what are we doing here? We have 2 green sources. Are we Green Sun Zenithing? How do we get rid of this? We need a Hydroblast at some point. Do I want... What am I Green Sun Zenithing for? I think this might be the Brainstorm turn. Let's just dig a little bit. We can use the Green Sun Zenith to shuffle afterwards. I don't hate having a cantrip here. So what do we put back? Well, we're going to have to work through all of these anyway. Or at least one of them. We want all the removal spells. Grist can kind of tangle with a few bits and pieces. Actually, no, if we're playing the Ice-Fang, we're going to get all of these anyway, aren't we? If our Ice-Fang resolves. Alright, I think we're going to main phase this Ice-Fang. If our opponent's got counter magic, they can use it on their turn, and it means their Quarry Steel Cutter is going to be easier to get 2 procs on. Sure, you can daze this. I would rather you not get a prowess trigger for countering my spell. So we can try and Uro our way out of this. We might have to start ploughing some of these annoying little tokens. But we've worked away a daze from our opponent's hand here. We can F6 this turn because we don't have anything. A Volcanic Island. Need my Hydroblast, really. Hydroblast or the Deed. We need the black source for the Deed, but we can worry about that later. This is another Steel Cutter. That could be a problem. No, it's just a Murktide. Okay, that's fine. They don't have the mana to equip this. So we're not getting bashed for 7. Right, we're just getting bashed for, what, 5? That's still quite a lot. I'd rather you didn't, opponent. Okay, so next turn is probably going heavy into the Source to Plowshares portfolio. So we need to plough the Murktide. We've got a Grist on top that we don't really want to draw as well. So this is plough on the Murktide. That's an important thing to resolve, so let's get that out of the way. Then we can Green Sun Zenith. I think for X equals 2. If this gets dazed, it's annoying. Right, we're in. Do we want just an Ice-Fang, or should we just get our 3-3 in on the board? I think we'll get a 3-3 on the board. It means they have to cast 2 spells that are non-creature spells in order to get the prowess to go through and trade with the Keen-Eyed Curator. Alright, they played another land. That's not really what we're going to see at this stage of the game. A Ponder. Okay, this means it should be relatively easy for them to get enough prowess going. But we're probably going to be untapping and having to plough some annoying tokens. Opponent definitely has a shot at getting over the finish line here. They did not shuffle off the Ponder. They are lightning bolting our only guy. That's going to get them a Quarry Steel Cutter token. We're going to take 8 damage. We're going to take 11 damage. Alright. We might be done for here. Any spell kills us. Alright, that is enough. Let's go to game number 3. We got 10 minutes, that's plenty of time, I think. Do I like how we sideboarded? Yes. Part of me wants to have counter spells to interact with their Steel Cutter. I just don't think we want to be Force of Willing that if we can avoid it. It really does go over the top. But we've got 2 Hydroblasts. We've got Prismatic Ending. We've got the Pernicious Deed. I think that should be fine. We don't really want to be 2-for-1ing ourselves in a matchup that's quite resource dependent. Okay, we can play on basics here as well. That's quite nice. We have removal. We have a couple of little skimmers, which aren't that exciting. But the Ice-Fang is probably going to have Death Touch, because we're just going to go for 3 basics. Basic Plains, Basic Forest, Basic Island. It's going to make Uro slightly harder to cast by getting the Basic Plains, but it means we're not going to be able to be wasted off of Source to Plowshares. Our opponent's mulligan to 5, which bodes well for our hand with a cantrip in it. And an answer for a threat. I think the really good Corey Steelcutter hands are the scariest thing our opponent can do. What do we want to play here? I just guess we'll play out in the Misty Rainforest. Start fueling our graveyard. I don't think I want to get Hedge Maze here, but we don't need to crack it until our next turn anyway. Alright, just a Ponder. They did not shuffle off that Ponder. Okay. Let's go for a Skimmer here. Snow-covered island. Let's get Skimming. Sure, you can line and bomb my guy. All I want is this game to go long. Oh, the snow-covered plains that we were going to shoot it for. I see. Okay, let's get another Skimmer in. We can try and use the Ice-Fang as like a little cheeky removal spell when maybe our opponent isn't expecting it. Alright, Ponder. Right, Thundering Falls. Still no threats. They're not going to be answering our Skimmer this turn. Let's bash. This Windswept Heath is probably going to be our source for a Leovold if we draw it. So I'm just going to play out this Tropical Island. If our opponent wants to waste it and take away some of their resources, I can live with that. A Murktide Regent. Sure, you can have a Murktide Regent. We are going to play this Ice-Fang, and then we're going to Teferi away this Murktide Regent. A Molt Tender, okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's get Teferi in. Take a nice tempo play, bouncing this Murktide. Right, we're getting a Force of Will for our trouble. And we're going to crack this. Go and get a white source. Tundra is fine here. Let's plow this now. We got 2-for-1 out of our opponent there, pitching on the Murktide. Gets cracking for 3 here. Will our opponent daze a Molt Tender? Maybe. Getting this online as a draw engine is kind of a big deal though. I don't think we need to risk it. I think we can just wait till next turn and play it around a daze. Ponder. Our opponent is in an okay spot if they can find a Corey Steelcutter, like now. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's not so big a deal. Okay, certainly not a big deal anymore. Do we just Hydroblast this? I don't think so. I'm more worried about the Corey Steelcutter than the Dragon's Rage Channeler. I don't think they're going to be able to turn this into a 3-3 right now. We just bash them for 3. I'll save this in hand for later. We can brainstorm it away, or we can use it to get the black mana for a Leovold. A Corey Steelcutter. Look at that. Let's counter target spell if it's red, please. We managed to hold on to the Hydroblast instead of just burning on the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Now, if our opponent's last cards are Force of Will blue card, then sure. But the only card I'm really scared of in this matchup is the Corey Steelcutter. As you saw, it can go absolutely wild. They do have a 3-3 that has to attack each turn, but they are not winning this race. Lightning Bolting the Skimmer. That can certainly help them win the race now. But we can just leave the Ice-Fang back to block. Alright, in comes the Channeler. Okay, we're looking for a Hedge Maze now, I think. I will fire in the Hedge Maze now in case we hit an Uro. We did not hit an Uro, we hit a land that we didn't want. Sure. If we mill a card right now, we might hit an Uro. We did not hit the... I say an Uro, we have 1 Uro in our deck. I'm going to leave this Ice-Fang back. It can just trade with the Dragon's Rage Channeler. This has to attack. Yep, Preordain. Our opponent's seeing a lot of cards here. It is possible that this one slips away from us. We need to find like a Green Sun Zenith or a Kishla Skimmer. Something so we can start drawing some cards. So we've got, what, 4 Zeniths, 1 Uro, 2 Skimmers left. That's a reasonable amount. Our opponent's playing out another land. That's not really where they need to be here. They can't play a Murktide this turn. Alright, so we're getting a Misty Rainforest here. It's been cracked. What are we looking at here? A Lightning Bolt targeting my guy. Yeah, that's good. That is good. Hydroblast plays here. Source to Plowshares plays here. Teferi buys us a bit of time. Like, a lot of our deck is great in this spot. An Ice-Fang. Sure. I will play this Ice-Fang out now because we could draw into something like an Uro. Okay, we're going to mill a card in case we draw into an Uro. Do we want to play one of these lands out right now? I think we can have one out. So we've got Bayou and Underground Sea. Which would I more like to get hold of? How many blue sources? We've got 1, 2, 3. How many green sources? We've got 1, 2, 3. Kind of much of a muchness. Okay. We'll pass it over. Come on, Molt Tender. A Corey Steelcutter. So they can equip this to the Dragon's Rage channel if they wish. But the DRC have to attack and we get to clean it up here. This does give it trample, doesn't it? So they get to put a bit of damage through, but they will die to the Ice-Fang. We need to not get blown out by Murktide Regent equipping. Are we just bottoming out here? Come on, deck. A Grist. It's not the one, is it? Really isn't the one. Where are all of the good cards we have in our deck? You're just gonna Murktide and kill me? They did not Murktide and kill us. Excellent. Source to Plowshares. I feel a little bit safer now. Can I mill into an Uro? We did not mill into an Uro. Pass the turn. The Source to Plowshares is a good draw. Keeps the game going, which is what we need. Eventually we're going to hit Green Sun Zenith or Uro, and things are going to be okay. Another Wasteland, so our spell should resolve. Petty Theft on this guy. Sure. That's whatever. And then they're going to... We could have played around this one, you know. If we'd have just ploughed our own guy, they wouldn't be able to Corey Steelcutter here. So now we take 2. That's kind of annoying. We don't get to mill. But again, so many draws in our deck are good. A Brainstorm. Alright. Let's move some cards around. Excellent. Do we need another land here? So we want to play the Skimmer. No, we want a Green Sun Zenith for an Endurance here. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. That leaves us 2 mana left over, so that's 1 for Plow. I don't think we need Molt Tender anymore, although it's pretty good with a Skimmer. Maybe we're just putting back the lands here. Alright, we'll crack this. We'll go and get... maybe it just has to be a Trop here. So we go 1... No, we need to save this white source, don't we? We need to also watch our clock here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This gets us an Endurance this turn. I think that is better than the Uro right now. I could play out the Molt Tender. I think I will play out the Molt Tender. Just get this going so we can draw some cards next turn. It's annoying if our opponent has specifically days. This is a tight game, this one. It's been a great game, though. I've been really enjoying this one. I've pretty much enjoyed every round I've played with this deck. It's really fun and really intricate. Not always the easiest thing to piece together, what I'm supposed to be doing. But we've been having a lot of really good games. We're paying some costs here. A Petty Theft on our Endurance. This is going to give them a second... This is going to give them another Monk. So they play the Brazen Borrower. They attack us for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We kill this. They only attack us for 4. That puts us to 1. Gives us the Endurance next turn. Or we could plow our own Endurance and then we take 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, I'm going to plow my own Endurance here. This will make the Petty Theft fizzle. We'll gain 3 life. We take 6 this turn. But this goes into the graveyard. We're not blocking. Really tight game here. Okay, let's Brainstorm first. Another Skimmer is pretty good for us. So we have 1 Skimmer, 2 Skimmer. We activate this, we draw 2 cards. So we're going to see all of these things anyway. Okay, blue, green. Green, blue. Play this out. I'll add green to my mana pool. I will get rid of this. We'll draw 2 cards. We'll play a Molt Tender. And we'll pass. I wonder if this game is better if we get the Uro instead of the Endurance. Corey Steelcutter equip. Sure. Just the Borrower. We do have to double block here. Otherwise we die to the trample. We got an object off the board. That's something. Alright, Molt Tenders. It's on you. Swords 2 Plowshares. Okay, I'm going to mill a card. Can we find a guy? We can't find the guy we want. Alright, I'm going to play this Molt Tender out and pass holding up Plow. We are dead to Lightning Bolt. I think we could afford to mill once. We don't want to do both because if our opponent makes 2 spells, things can get a little bit sketchy here. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay, 2 Dragon's Rage Channelers. Corey Steelcutter is a little bit spooky here. I think we have to plow the Monk token. We might just run out of time here. That mid-game bit where we bricked a bunch is certainly costing us, though. Just get rid of this. Yep, you equip that token over there. Be my guest. Miller card. Can I find an Uro, please? Green Sun Zenith. This can find an Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4. This gets us the Uro. Put a land in. Then we can escape the Uro. Green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doesn't really matter which ones we click here. We're just trying to get this game over and done with while we still have time. Okay, we're back up to 8 life. We have the Euro, but we only have 1 minute and 20 seconds to win this game. We are winning this game now, though. Attack with the Euro. Let's get this in. 1 minute is not a lot of time. Green, green, 1. Let's get this endurance in. Pernicious Deed, please. Not the Pernicious Deed. Okay, we're going to go to attacks. Oh, I didn't mean to attack with the Dryad Arbor here. Whoops. We're just F6ing the turns here so we can get the time through. Green, green, and 1. So here. They're just trying to put stuff on the stack here. Let's get rid of this. It's not the ideal target, but we're just trying to win the game. They're just putting more stuff on the stack. Attack with all creatures. F6. Oh, we win on that combat. Oh, very frustrating. I'm going to count that as a win. But yeah, that was a very frustrating one to lose right at the end there. We needed literally 1 more second. All right. But the clock is an important part of Magic the Gathering. The fact that I have to talk about my plays certainly makes my playing a little bit slower. But yeah, so we finished with what I'm going to say is a 2-3 record here. And one of the rounds we lost was a 1-2. And it was really close. I think that was the Eldrazi matchup. So what do I think about this deck? I think it's pretty good. I like what it's doing. We certainly had a lot of tools in a lot of situations. I did stumble over the mana in the early turns, in the early rounds. That might have been a case where it's just going to happen from time to time, or it might be a case where maybe we can alleviate that through familiarity with play patterns with the deck, or through tweaking the deck. I did notice that Orcish Bowmasters absolutely punks us really hard. The fact that we're trying to draw a bunch of extra cards as our sort of value engine is very, very devastating in the face of Orcish Bowmasters. So that was definitely a problem, but what's new than control your decks having a bad time with Orcish Bowmasters, right? That's just part and parcel of Legacy at the moment. Yeah, I think this deck is really sweet. I would have to play quite a lot more with it to familiarise myself with all the lines, because obviously there's lots of different stuff to do. Molt Tender gives you lots of options. The Green Sun Zenith gives you lots of options. I'm not really a Green Sun Zenith player, generally speaking, so it's not a play pattern I'm overly familiar with, especially not these sort of control-y Green Sun Zenith decks. The Skimmer interaction was pretty cool. A 2-mana 2/2 flyer isn't the worst body either, and sometimes just being a flyer that pecks away was really good. Pitching to both Endurance and Force of Will was pretty nice. I can certainly see how someone of Stryfo's caliber of Magician with a bunch of reps and building this deck from the ground up could top 8 a challenge. Yeah, I think it would take me quite a few more tries to get the hang of it. But really sweet deck. I hope you like seeing something cool on the channel. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.